The first Vorax ships appeared near Mars. They were massive, larger than anything humans had ever seen. Sung Ho Kang watched the screens in the main command center. His hands were steady. His eyes were calm. Around him, hundreds of operators worked quickly and quietly. "They think we are weak," Sung Ho said to his second-in-command. The Vorax ships looked like giant metal insects. They moved in perfect formation. Each ship seemed exactly the same. No differences, no creativity, just cold, perfect order. Humans were different. "Activate Protocol Firefly," Sung Ho commanded. Most military plans were simple. Attack the enemy. Defend your position. But humans had created something new, something the Vorax would not understand. The first wave of human drones launched. They were not normal drones. They were smart. They could think. They could change plans in seconds. Each drone was connected to every other drone. They worked like one big brain. The Vorax fired their first attack. Massive energy beams shot through space. Any normal defense would have been destroyed instantly. But human drones were not normal. They moved. They ducked. They changed direction faster than the Vorax could track. Some drones sacrificed themselves to save others. They worked as a team, as a living system. "They are confused," one of the operators said. And it was true. The Vorax had never seen anything like this before. Their attacks missed. Their perfect formation started to break. Sung Ho watched the battle like a chess player. Every move was planned. Every action had a purpose. More human ships joined the battle. They were not perfect. They were not identical. Each ship was different. Each had its own special ability. Some were fast. Some were strong. Some could hack enemy systems. The Vorax kept attacking, but each attack worked less and less. Human technology was changing, adapting, learning. A Vorax ship tried to attack a human space station. Suddenly, the station's defense system changed. It was not in the same place anymore. It moved. It became something the Vorax weapon could not understand. "They are learning faster than the Vorax," Sung Ho said. Human soldiers from different countries worked together. An American pilot would coordinate with a Chinese engineer. A Russian drone operator would help a Brazilian defense team. They were not just fighting. They were solving a problem together. The battle near Mars became something more than a fight. It became a message. Humans would not be easy to destroy. Hours passed. The Vorax lost more and more ships. Their perfect formation broke. Their attacks became desperate. They had never lost a battle before. Sung Ho looked at his team. They were tired, but they were smiling. "We are not just defending," he said. "We are showing them who we are." As the last Vorax ships retreated, something changed. Humanity was no longer just waiting. They were fighting back, and they were winning. The world changed in just 6 months. Dong Kuk Lee stood in a massive underground facility near Seoul. Machines hummed around him. Robots worked without stopping. Screens showed complex designs and calculations that would have looked like magic just a year ago. "We don't have time for perfect," Dong Kuk told his team. "We need something that works." The United Earth Defense Initiative, UEDI, was not like any military organization in history. It brought together the best minds from every country. Scientists who used to compete now worked together. Engineers who once built different things now built the same thing. Survival. Yuna Choi walked into the room. She was an expert in nanoengineering. Her team had been working on something special, something that could change everything. "We've made a breakthrough," she announced. The breakthrough was simple but powerful. They had created adaptive technology that could change itself. Most military equipment was fixed. If something broke, you needed to replace it. But this new technology could repair itself. It could learn. It could improve. Outside the facility, the world looked different. Every city had changed. Factories that once made cars now made weapons. Schools that taught normal subjects now trained people for possible combat. Young people who used to play video games now learned survival skills. The global population understood something important. This was not just another threat. This was a fight for survival. Satellite systems were rebuilt. Communication networks were made stronger. Every piece of technology was checked and improved. The Vorax message had shown them something crucial. They needed to be ready for anything. Dong Huk looked at a new type of drone. It was small. It looked simple, but it could think. It could make decisions faster than any human. Thousands of these drones were being built every day. We are creating an immune system for our planet, Yuna said, watching the drone. Military training changed too. Soldiers were no longer just taught to follow orders. They were taught to think, to adapt, to solve problems quickly. Every soldier became part of a larger, smarter network. Space stations were built quickly, not just in Earth's orbit, but around the Moon and Mars. These were not just research stations. They were defense platforms. Each one could detect threats from far away. Quantum computers worked day and night. They ran millions of battle scenarios. They tested millions of possible defense strategies. What would the Vorax do? How could humans counter their moves? Dong Huk remembered something his grandfather told him. Humans are strongest when they work together. Now, that was more true than ever. The UEDI facility was just one of many around the world. In America, in Russia, in China, in India, in Brazil, everywhere, people were preparing. Not with fear, but with determination. Yuna looked at Dong Huk. We might actually have a chance, she said. Dong Huk nodded. We don't just have a chance, he replied. We are going to show them what humans can do. Outside, the sun set. Another day of preparation ended, but everyone knew. The real test was coming. The Vorax were getting closer, and humanity would be waiting. The room was quiet, but the silence was powerful. Eun Ji Kim stood in front of a massive screen. Her team watched carefully. They were not soldiers. They were not engineers. They were something different. They were psychological warriors. The Vorax think in one way, Eun-ji explained. We will make them think in many ways. The captured Vorax communication signals lay before them. Most scientists would try to break the signals, would try to destroy them. But Eun-ji and her team wanted something different. They wanted to understand. The Vorax had a collective mind. All Vorax thought the same way, acted the same way, moved the same way. They were like one big machine, one big brain. Humans were different. We will introduce doubt, Eun-ji said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed something else, something powerful. They began to create messages, not to attack, not to fight, but to confuse. One message suggested that some Vorax were different, that some might think differently. Another message hinted that their leaders might be wrong, that their plan might fail. Small seeds of doubt. The messages were complex. They were not simple lies. They were carefully designed puzzles, things that would make the Vorax think, make them question. In the Vorax system, questioning was not allowed. Doubt was not possible. But humans knew how to plant seeds of doubt. The first signs came quickly. Small changes in Vorax communication patterns, tiny breaks in their perfect system. Most would not see these changes, but Eun-ji and her team saw everything. They are starting to break, one team member said. The Vorax communication network began to show strange patterns. Some signals became different. Some communication lines became slower. Some Vorax units started to act differently. Not much, just a little. But in a system that was always perfect, a little was everything. Eun-ji remembered something her father told her. The strongest wall is not made of stone. It is made of questions. The Vorax were a wall, a perfect, strong wall. And humans were bringing questions. More messages were sent. Some were technical. Some were emotional. Some made no sense at first. But each message was a tool, a way to make the Vorax think differently. The team worked day and night. They were not just sending messages. They were creating a new kind of weapon, a weapon of the mind. Outside, the space battles continued. Ships fought, technologies clashed. But here, in this quiet room, another battle was happening. A battle of thoughts. We are not destroying them, Yunji told her team. We are making them destroy themselves. The Voraks did not understand individual thought. They did not understand creativity. They did not understand doubt. Humans did, and that would make all the difference. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the Voraks continued their journey, not knowing that their perfect system was already breaking. One thought at a time. 5 years had passed since the Voraks War. Jae-sung Kim stood in the new Interstellar Exploration Committee headquarters. It was different from old government buildings. This was not just an office. It was a meeting place for many worlds. The building was on the moon, half human design, half built with help from alien technologies. Windows showed Earth in the distance, blue and green. Beautiful. We are ready, she told her team. They were going to explore, not to conquer, not to fight, but to understand. The first human-alien exploration fleet was ready. Ships from different worlds, crews from different planets, all working together, all thinking together. Jae-sung remembered the first days, when the Voraks message came, when everything changed. They had not just survived, they had grown. The committee room was full of different species. Humans sat next to Krelthuri. Zornak's engineers worked with human scientists. They looked different, but they worked the same. A holographic map showed planned exploration routes, not just human routes, shared routes, routes that would help everyone learn. Our first mission, Jae-sung said, is about understanding. The mission was simple: go to new places, meet new civilizations, learn, share, grow. No weapons, no defenses, just curiosity. The ships were special, made from technologies from different worlds. Each ship could change, could adapt, could solve problems quickly. Outside, other ships waited. Not military ships, explorer ships. The Krelthuri captain spoke. Her language translator made her words clear. We go together, she said. This was new. Before the Voraks War, species did not work together, did not trust each other. Now, everything was different. Jae-sung looked at her team. Humans and aliens, working as one. The first ship launched. Smooth, quiet, powerful. Cameras showed the launch. People on Earth watched. People on other planets watched. Everyone was connected. We are not just exploring space, one alien scientist said. We are exploring ourselves. The ship moved, faster than old human ships, smoother than Vorak ships. It was something new, something special. Jae-sung thought about her grandmother. What would she say? How would she understand this moment? The ship carried hope, carried dreams, carried possibilities. No one knew what they would find, but that was okay. Humans were good at not knowing, good at learning, good at changing. More ships would follow. This was just the beginning. The Voraks had thought they could control everything, had thought perfection was strength. Humans showed them something different. Strength was not about being perfect. Strength was about being able to change. Strength was about working together. As the ship disappeared into the stars, Jae-sung smiled. The universe was big. Humanity was ready. And the real journey was just beginning. The news spread quickly, faster than any message had ever spread before. Sung Min Park stood in the United Nations building. Around him, representatives from different alien civilizations watched carefully. Some looked scared. Some looked hopeful. Humans had beaten the Voraks. Not just beaten. Completely changed everything. We are not here to conquer, Sung Min said. His voice was calm, clear. We are here to help. The first meetings were difficult. Many alien races had been hiding for years. Decades, centuries. The Voraks had been hunting them, destroying them, eating their civilizations. Now, everything was different. Each alien race told their story. The Kreltheri from a distant blue planet spoke first. They had lost 3 entire colonies to the Vorax. Their people were scattered, broken. "We thought we would die," their leader said. Then humans came. The stories were the same. Different aliens, different planets, but the same story. The Vorax had been a cancer in the galaxy, a system that ate everything, destroyed everything, took everything. Humans had stopped them. Some men showed maps, showed how the Vorax system was broken, how their perfect machine was no longer perfect, how humans had found a way to make them fall apart. "We will share our technology," he said, "but we will not control you." This was new. Most powerful civilizations wanted to control others. Humans were different. The Zornax delegation looked confused. "Why would you help us?" they asked. Some men smiled. "Because it is the right thing to do." Each alien race brought something. The Kreltheri had amazing medical knowledge. The Zornax understood energy systems better than anyone. Humans brought something special: creativity, adaptability, hope. Teams started working together. Scientists from different planets, engineers from different worlds. They shared knowledge, shared ideas, shared hope. The first space stations were built, not for war, for communication, for learning, for growing together. Some men watched as alien scientists worked with human scientists. They were different, but they were the same. All wanted to learn. All wanted to grow. "We are not just fighting the Vorax," one alien scientist said. "We are building something new." More alien races came. They had been hiding, afraid. Now they were coming out, sharing their stories, their technologies. The galaxy was changing. Humans had not just fought a war. They had shown something important, that working together was stronger than being perfect. The Vorax had a perfect system, but it could not change. Humans could change, could adapt, could grow. Some men looked at the maps, saw how different species were now connected, how they were working together. "We are not finished," he told the group. "We are just beginning." Outside, ships from different worlds moved together, not as enemies, as friends, as partners. The galaxy had a new story, and humans had helped write it. The captured Vorax technology lay spread across the research lab. Minho Park looked at it carefully. Every piece told a story. "They are machines," he said to his team, "but not like our machines." The lab was deep underground. Security was tight. Only the best scientists were allowed inside. They had been studying the Vorax technology for weeks, and they had found something interesting. The Vorax were perfect, too perfect. Their technology worked exactly the same way every time. No mistakes, no changes, no creativity. Each Vorax ship was identical to the next. Each Vorax soldier acted exactly like all the others. Humans were different. Minho picked up a small Vorax communication device. It was beautiful, complex, but also limited. The device could only do one thing. It could only communicate in one way. "Look at this," he told his team. They gathered around. Minho connected the Vorax device to a human computer. Normally, this would be impossible. Alien technology and human technology should not work together. But humans were good at making things work. The device started to change. Slowly at first, then faster. The human computer was teaching the Vorax device new ways to communicate, new ways to think. "It's learning," one scientist said. The neural link technology was something special. It allowed humans to connect their minds to machines, not physically, but through complex computer systems. Each soldier could now share information instantly, could change plans in seconds. The Vorax had a problem. They could not do this. Their system was fixed, rigid. If one part of their system failed, everything failed. Humans were different. If one part broke, other parts could take over, could change, could adapt. Minho remembered something his grandmother told him. The strongest tree is not the one that never moves. It is the one that bends in the wind. The Vorax did not bend. More captured technology arrived. Weapons, communication systems, navigation computers. Each piece was studied, tested, understood. The human scientists were not just looking at the technology. They were learning how the Vorax thought, how they worked, what made them strong, what made them weak. They think in straight lines, Minho said. We think in circles. The Vorax saw everything as a problem to be solved directly. Humans saw problems as puzzles, as challenges to be creative with. A new communication system was being built. It used parts of the Vorax technology, but it was changed, improved, made more flexible. Outside the lab, the world continued to prepare. Every country worked together. Scientists shared information quickly. Military teams trained in new ways. The Vorax thought they were coming to destroy humanity, but humanity was getting ready to show them something different. Minho looked at the transformed Vorax device. It was no longer a Vorax device. It was something new, something human. We are going to win, he said quietly. And somewhere, in the darkness of space, the Vorax were coming, not knowing that everything was about to change. The United Nations headquarters in New York was usually a place of calm discussions and careful diplomacy. Not today. Jae-sung Kim stood at the center of a massive conference room. Screens around her showed images from the Jupiter research station. Her hands were steady, but her eyes showed a mix of excitement and fear. Beside her, Hae-jin Park prepared the final presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Jae-sung began. What we have discovered is not just another scientific curiosity. It is a warning. The room was full of leaders from around the world. Presidents, prime ministers, military commanders, and top scientists sat in complete silence. Some looked tired. Some looked angry. But all of them were listening. Hae-jin started the presentation. The first slide showed the complex signal they had discovered. Then it began to translate. Slowly, the message became clear. The Vorax were coming. They were not a myth. They were not a legend. They were real, and they were dangerous. The message explained how this alien civilization had been moving across the galaxy for thousands of years. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They consumed. Consumed? Asked the American president. What do you mean by consumed? Hae-jin's next slide was horrifying. It showed charts and images of other civilizations. Each civilization was marked with a date. Next to each date was a simple red mark, a mark that meant total destruction. They find intelligent life, Jae-sung explained, and they destroy it completely. Not just the people, everything. Cities, technology, culture, all of it. The Chinese military commander leaned forward. How do we know this is real? Hae-jin showed the next slide. It contained mathematical proofs, signal analysis, and complex data that showed the message was genuine. No one in the room could deny the evidence. We have approximately 18 months, Jae-sung said quietly, before they reach our solar system. The room erupted in chaos. Some leaders started arguing. Some looked shocked. Some began making phone calls. The Russian representative stood up. How can we fight something like this? Hae-jin smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was a smile that said they had a plan. We don't just fight, she said. We prepare. Over the next few hours, something unprecedented happened. Countries that had been enemies for decades began to work together. Military budgets were redirected. Scientific resources were combined. The entire human race began to move as one single organism. The Jupiter research station continued to decode more of the message. Each new piece of information was more terrifying than the last. The Vorax had destroyed hundreds of civilizations. They were technologically advanced beyond human understanding. They moved like a swarm, consuming everything in their path. But humans had something the Vorax did not understand: hope. creativity, the ability to change and adapt quickly. As night fell over New York, the United Nations building remained lit. Inside, the most important meeting in human history continued. They were not just preparing for a war, they were preparing to survive. The Voraks were coming, and humanity would be ready. The Jupiter research station hummed with quiet energy. Computers blinked. Screens flickered. Most of the time, nothing unusual happened. But today was different. Jae-sung Kim sat in front of a wall of monitors, her fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. She was not an ordinary scientist. At 32, she had already made several important discoveries in astrophysics. Her colleagues respected her for her sharp mind and her ability to see patterns where others saw only noise. The station was located in a strategic orbit around Jupiter, far from Earth, but close enough to monitor deep space signals. It was a quiet place most of the time. Researchers would spend months watching, listening, and recording. Most days were boring. Most days, nothing happened. But not today. At 3:47 UTC, something caught her attention. A signal. Not like any signal she had seen before. Most space signals were simple. They were either natural radiation or simple repeated patterns. This was different. This signal had complexity. It had something else. Hai-jin, she called to her colleague. Come look at this. Hai-jin Park walked over, her lab coat swishing with each step. She was younger than Jae-sung, but equally brilliant. Where Jae-sung was methodical, Hai-jin was creative. They made a good team. What is it? Hai-jin asked, leaning over the monitors. Jae-sung pointed at the screen. The signal was strange. It was not random. It had a structure. It seemed to be saying something, but in a language no one had ever seen before. This is not a natural signal, Jae-sung said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking slightly. They began working. Hours passed. They filtered the signal. They ran it through different computer systems. They used advanced decoding algorithms. Slowly, a picture began to form. The signal was not from any known source in our solar system. It was coming from beyond the Kuiper Belt, the far edge of our known solar neighborhood. Something out there was trying to communicate. Hai-jin brought coffee. They worked without stopping. The rest of the research station continued its normal routine. Most people did not know what was happening in the small room. By midday, they had confirmed something incredible. The signal was not random. It was a message. A complex, detailed message that suggested something very important. They were not alone in the universe. Jae-sung looked at Hai-jin. Hai-jin looked back. No words were needed. They both knew this would change everything. We need to inform the global scientific community, Jae-sung said. Hai-jin nodded. They won't believe us at first. Then we'll give them proof they cannot ignore, Jae-sung replied. Outside the station's windows, Jupiter's massive form continued its silent orbit. Storms raged on its surface. Moons moved in their predictable paths. But something had changed. Humanity was about to learn that the universe was far more complex than anyone had ever imagined. The message was waiting. And soon, the world would know. The Voraks mothership was huge. It looked like a giant metal spider floating in space. Jae-yun Kwon looked at her team. 4 people. The best of the best. They were not going to fight. They were going to do something much harder. They were going to think. We have one chance, Jae-yun said quietly. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were sharp. The team had been training for months. Not just physical training. Mental training. They knew every inch of the captured Voraks technology. They knew how the Voraks thought, how they moved, how they worked. Most teams would use weapons, would try to destroy. This team was different. They wore special suits, not armor, not weapons, something else. These suits could change, could adapt, could become part of any system. The small human ship moved closer to the mothership. The Voraks did not see them, or thought they did not see them. Humans were good at being invisible. Jai-Yun's team entered through a small opening, a place so small the Vorax would not notice. Their suits changed color, changed shape. They looked like part of the ship. Inside was like a massive machine. Everything was metal. Everything was perfect. No dust, no mistake, no life. Find the central system, Jai-Yun whispered. They moved slowly, carefully. Each step was planned. Each movement was quiet. The Vorax system was perfect, but perfect things have weak points. Humans knew how to find weak points. They reached the central communication hub. It was massive. Millions of signals moved every second. Perfect signals. Always the same, always correct. But today would be different. Jai-Yun connected a small device. It was not a weapon. It was a thought. A program that could change things. That could make the Vorax system think differently. The first change was small. So small no one would notice. A signal changed direction. Just a little. Another signal moved differently. Just for a moment. The Vorax system did not understand mistakes. More changes happened. Signals mixed. Communication lines crossed. The perfect system started to break. Not destroyed. Changed. Jai-Yun remembered what her training officer told her. Break their system by making it think about itself. The Vorax mothership started to slow down. Some parts stopped working. Other parts worked differently. The perfect machine was no longer perfect. Alarms started, but these alarms were different. They were confused. They did not know what was wrong. The team moved quickly. They planted more devices, more small changes. Each change was a question. Each change was a doubt. We are not destroying, Jai-Yun said to her team. We are making them destroy themselves. Outside, human ships waited. But they would not attack. They would watch. The Vorax mothership began to break apart. Not from weapons, from its own system. From its own perfection. Humans had found the weakness. Thinking. As the mothership started to fall apart, Jai-Yun and her team prepared to leave. Their mission was complete. They had beaten the Vorax. Not with guns, not with big weapons, with a small idea.